I will be your moderator for this session. And this session is titled Technology in Land Administration, Process and Impact. And it looks at state-based case studies. We have a very rich menu of presentations on the implementation and the evaluation related aspects of land governance policies. So we have four presenters with us. Uh, Richa Joshi, who's with Landstack, will be presenting with Mehboob Basha, who's a research associate here at Flame University. Um, there is also a presentation by Haricharan Bhera sir, who's from the Indian Statistical Institute, and Omkar Modak, also from Landstack, which is a land governance specializing think tank based in Odisha. He will be presenting on Swamitva. And there is also a presentation by, excuse me if I pronounce your name incorrectly, sir. It's by Mengistu Mekonnen, sir, who's joining us from Ethiopia, right? Yeah. Okay. So first presenters, yeah, I'll please request all presenters to keep their remarks aligned with the time, and so that we can also entertain some questions from the audience. First set of presenters, Richa and Mehboob, yes.
Hello everyone. Today, uh, Flame and Landstack have did this study on DLRMP and Swamitwa. So now we are going to look at the evaluation of citizen perception on awareness and their evaluation of the accessibility of the digital DLRMP scheme, and the outcomes and output. I will be presenting the outcomes and process, and Richa will be presenting on outputs. So, Digital India Land Records Modernization Program, it was launched in 2016, and the main focus of the scheme was to minimize the scope of land and property disputes, and to modernize the management of land records, and to enhance the transparency in the land records maintenance system. And it was a program, national level program. It was earlier known as NLRMP, National Land Records Modernization Program, in 2018. After that, in 2016, it was transformed as DLRMP. So there are eight objectives of the DLRMP. One is to improve the real-time information on land. So whatever the information that we have on land is scattered, and it's not correct, and reduce the land disputes, and benefit both landowners and prospectors. So a good data on land may assist in policy and planning also, and to enable the sharing of information with various organizations and agencies. As in the earlier presentation also, settlement commissioner sir was saying ki the departments work in silos and they don't share and they don't talk in between. So the data sharing is also issue in between these departments, and to also to check fraudulent transactions and to reduce this issue. And as he was also saying, the obviate need of physical visits to revenue departments and in register offices. So the one of the main motive of the digitizing this is to that we can access anywhere and at any time. And the eight major components of DLRMP are like: one is the computerization of land records. So under this thing, these are the activities that will be done, and computerization of registration and survey and resurvey will be there, and modern record rooms will be prepared, and training and capacity building will be there, and project management unit will be prepared to provide human resource and other infrastructure services, and computerization of revenue code and management system will be created, and to link other record of rights. This will be the ultimate thing of this DLRMP scheme. So our objectives and methodology are like that. We will be evaluate like we try to evaluate the citizen accessibility of the DLRMP service in terms of land records and mutation processes. And we have did this survey in both Maharashtra and Odisha state. And another thing is to evaluate the citizen awareness on the DLRMP scheme also. So the study focused on Odisha and Maharashtra, and the districts we have selected in Maharashtra are four: Pune, Sindhudurg, Hingoli, Gadchiroli, and in Odisha, Anugul, Balasore, Cuttack, and Koraput. So this district selection was done based on using consolidated convenient sampling methods, and like we have tried to look at four categories. One is urban, peri-urban, tribal and irrigated areas. So we have we did in each district we try to maintain 40 households, and we have done, this is the data that number of IDIs and FGDs we have conducted. So coming to the graphs and findings, so on awareness level, so when we asked about awareness of the online records, so here 71.9% of the people said that they are aware of the online records, and in each the clarification of the in each districts, it can be clearly shown that in Pune most number of people are aware due to this urban influence, and in the Sindhudurg a large number of population, almost 42.50 people are unaware of the processes. So this also signifies that like in the qualitative data we have got to know about this, that there are network issues, and due to regional differences, and this issue is there. And in Odisha, only 30% of the population were aware, and rest of the population were not aware. This is also an issue here. And when it comes to accessibility of the Maharashtra, so so there is some significant pattern here. So when people are to some extent aware of the schemes and services and anything, when it comes to accessibility, this further reduce. Here we can clearly see that when we asked about whether the people have accessed or checked their online records or not, so only 57.9% of the people said that they have accessed, and 42.1% of the people said no. So when it comes to awareness and accessibility part, so this is further reduced. And the same follows in Odisha also. So almost 61% of the population said they have accessed and they have checked online records, and only 38% of the people said no. And isme, if we see the like Anul, 52.38% of the population were not didn't check their land records, and Balasore and Cuttack, for example, Cuttack and Balasore are districts that are industrial areas and capital past capital cities. Still, we can see that like these districts are performing well here, and the other districts, for example, rural and peri-urban areas, like we can see that somewhat to some extent the information gap is there and accessibility issue is there. And this is about awareness about the Bhunaksha in Maharashtra. So we have a portal called Bhunaksha to check online records and all these things. So especially in general, when we asked about the awareness on online portals, it was somewhat more. But especially when we asked about Bhunaksha, it was just further reduced. It was only 40% of the population said that they are aware of the Bhunaksha. And when we asked about the checking and downloading of cadastral maps, so this further reduced. For example, awareness and accessibility is there, but when we asked about the how many people are using this, for example, are you downloading or not, sif only 20.61% of the respondents try to checking their cadastral maps. So that was like there are two types of maps, sorry, records, you know, right? Textual and spatial records. So when we asked about the spatial records, it's further reduced. Only sif 20% of the population have checked. Of these 20% of the population, 61.8% of the population have tried to download the records. So here the population is only 35, and out of 165 people, 35 people try to check, and out of this 35, only 61.8% of the population try to download in Maharashtra. And in Odisha, it's also same, like almost 20% of the population only try to check the cadastral maps, and after that, only 36% of the population try to download. So to some extent, Maharashtra is performing really well in terms of awareness, accessibility, and downloading than Odisha. And application of mutation and its accessibility. So this is output information. So when we asked about like have you tried to apply for updation of the mutation in last 4 or 5 years, sirf only 11.52% of the population said that they tried to apply for the mutation and in Maharashtra, and 5.7% of the population said that they tried to do in Odisha. And but like out of this thing also, only 21.5% of the population checked their status on online. There is some huge information gap here. The people are not tending towards usage of the online portals or something here. And when we asked about the land use conversion in Maharashtra also, So in the last 4 5 years, out of our population, in our survey population, 4.3% of the population tried to apply for land use conversion. And their mode of application was 29% of the population said that they used common citizen service center, and 43% said that they through revenue offices, and other 29% people said that with the help of intermediary agents. So that they are most number of population are tending towards using the traditional practices. For example, going back to the revenue offices. Yeah, matlab, even though the online services are there, common service citizen service center are there. So it's just 29% of the population try to check our application through these things. And this is the Odisha data. So 70% of the population try to apply for the land use conversion, and the same is also here. So through only revenue and offices, 73% of the population try to access through these. So we can clearly see that to some extent population are tending more practicing the same traditional practices. For example, going back to the offices and all these things, even though the DLRMP main motto was to obviate this physical access and all these things. And when we try to ask about the mode of accessibility of online records also, we can clearly see that 16.49% of the population try to check on their own via mobile, yeah, PC, or tablets or something. And large number of population try to check from 43% of the population tried from common citizen service center, and 35% try to do it from revenue offices, and through village panchayat and all those things, 4% of the population. And this further in Odisha, so by yourself, matlab like own pay, like this further reduced. Only 14% of the population tried to download, check, and 76.81% of the population use CSCs. And here we can see clearly see that through family and through revenue office, it is further reduced. So here what we can see is that the informality still exists. People are trying to use the traditional things rather than going for the modern things. And in terms of digital access and citizen awareness and etc., Maharashtra is performing really better than Odisha. To some extent, this is because Maharashtra government has tried to accept this digital signature thing, and Odisha it didn't happen. That's why to some extent Maharashtra people are somewhat better using or accessing better than Odisha. And more data needs to be collected or better understanding of the partner, because like this is a preliminary understanding of the data, and we are still this is the first first kind of observation. And with this observation, we are going again back to the field to validate our findings and all these things. So more data will be collected, and we will try to evaluate this thing. And accessibility issues often outweigh awareness challenges, as we see that pattern. To some extent, people are aware, but they are not able to access. Even if they are able to access, they may be not downloading the services. Thank you. Now Richa will talk about outcomes.
Thank you, Mehboob, for setting the context, and also as Mehboob, have spoken about the part of the process and then the impact. I'll be mainly talking about in terms of outcomes. As we have seen in the awareness to access, the percentage has consistently it was dropping. So we'll be seeing further in the outcomes how in the different states the outcomes are it varies in the two different states. And also here I'm not making any conclusion because the study is ongoing and we are yet to collect the more data. Sorry for the delay. So I'll present. Okay. So mainly when I'm talking about the outcomes of DLRMP, this is mainly from the community insights. Talking about it, if you see, this will be the presentation overview. So I'll be most of the part has been done by Mehboob about the scheme, the approach, and the methodology that was followed in the study. I'll be mainly talking about the findings mainly in terms of outcomes, and then the conclusion, mainly the inferences. Yeah. So these are some of the objectives which is given by the government of India about the DLRMP, and also we did try to fit how we can what our research questions for the study is. So basically, the process and output part is already been covered by Mehboob. I'll be mainly covering about the outcomes, and in the outcomes, I'll be talking about what the how to identify and analyze the broader socioeconomic legal implications of digitized land records. I'll skip this part. So talking about the findings, I'll be mainly talking about the outcomes in three aspects. One is access to financial institutions. Second, access to public entitlements. And third, a very important thing about the trust. So, well, this is again the questionnaire meta-analysis, how we approach this study, and the part that will be covered by me. Yeah. So, coming to Odisha here, we would not be telling. Okay, so coming to Odisha, if you talk about with the digitized land records, are the people or the community were they able to get the loans from the financial institution? Has the process been easier? So it's 37%. And if you talk about how many percentage of the community has taken the loans from the any formal institution, here we are talking about the formal institution. So it's as of now 22%. And further going to the district wise distribution of within the state of Odisha, we have seen that the urban is highest, of course, because when we are talking about the awareness and access, there is awareness and access is more in the urban spaces in the urban district, because of the dissemination of the information given to the districts which are more urban. Talking about Maharashtra, so we have seen in the state, like in Maharashtra, it's 52%, that which has the entire process of digitization has made it easier, and 38% have taken the loans. And again, this is very interesting when when I was finding how in the district wise it's varying. So we have seen that the urban agricultural. So Mehboob has already mentioned the district, but here the anonymity is maintained. So if I see here, so it's kind of equal. So I try to understand why it is equal. So from the from our qualitative data, what we have received, that especially in the district which are which are less urban, so it's said that the old system is better. This is a reason the the people don't want to they don't believe in the digitization process. And also there are lot many other challenges which exist in the system. This could be about the community, their own perception about how they take this digitization process, and also the institutional and the infrastructural challenges which already exist. And also when talking about, we see the percentage is very less here. It's well, I would not say less or more, because this is an ongoing study. We are yet to collect more data. But then if you see, they were not interested to mortgage land. They were, as in other session also we are listening this, that it's more, land is more about identity. So they were not very they were reluctant to mortgage land. Hence we see that the loan taken against the land is less. Yeah. So talking about the second component of the outcome, basically talks about infrastructural services. So here we have seen that in the state of Odisha, it's 67%, almost 3/4 sample size says that okay, nothing they could avail from the ROR because they were already existing. And that's again because of the challenges that I have mentioned in the box. Talking about the Maharashtra, again in the Maharashtra, we have seen that, agricultural district was one of the main district where we have seen that how the infrastructural services was, less. The reason being given for this because of the lack of, infrastructural services present in that district. There were, less RIs. Again, there were, a lot many systemic and the, challenges in the district. Yeah. Talking about the government schemes, if you see that more than 50% of the community participants said that they are not able to avail a scheme in Odisha. And if you see the breakdown of the scheme, the highest says the proportion of, I would rather use the word proportion here, which talks about no schemes were availed, because they yet feel that the ROR is now as of yet it's being used for the income certificates, residence certificates, and then death certificates. Talking about Maharashtra, we have seen that again we have seen in the agricultural district this was quite contrasting, that why in the agricultural district we are not able to see the more schemes which are available. The reason given, what we have found in the qualitative data is the villagers are aware of the land documents. However, they could not utilize it because the land had a joint Satbara in the name of 135 villagers. Hence, they were not able to avail any of these schemes. Talking about the very important component of trust, when we are talking about outcomes, we as of now we have spoken about the entitlements given and the loan access. but here the trust is equally important. So based on the previous two slides, we did try to understand what the relevance of the digitized land records for them. So it was seen that in Odisha they believe less, in Maharashtra it's relatively better than Odisha. The reason given is the online ROR does not have a stamp or signature, whereas the Tehsil ROR does. So this was one of the major reason why it was stated that yeah, they still need to carry their cadastral map even when they have digitized land records, because the sign is required by any talhati or a ROR or from any revenue officer. So talking also about the after the updation of ROR, has the process been easy? So it was seen that for the Maharashtra it's 47% and for the Odisha it's 24%. So yeah, so basically the study is, yeah, this last year. So basically the study is about it's an ongoing study. We did just one round of analysis, which was also spoken by Mehboob. So we did try to do the content analysis on what are the existing challenges, why the results are potentially low in the outputs. So there were infrastructural challenges, and then there are systemic challenges. And here are some of the stated challenges, but we will not be presenting any conclusion in this slide, because the data is yet to gathered, and we yet to analyze the more of the qualitative data here. So thank you.
Thank you, Richa and Mehboob. Behra sir, do you want to go next?
A very good afternoon to all of you. I know it's very difficult pre-launch session to keep on speaking for more than 15-20 minutes even. This topic is very important. That I'm going to focus especially on land leasing arrangements and performances in both the plain and plateau regions of Eastern Indian region. All of you know that land tenure is linked to food security and sustainable development. I don't want to say much on the literature part. Poor governance in land leasing, discontinuing tenancy reforms, and shifting attention on land policy have increased risk of poverty and distressed migration of small growers and agricultural tenants, especially in Eastern Indian region. The Model Land Leasing Act and the architects are also, some of them are sitting here, those who were in the Niti Ayogs, some eminent policymakers. This has not been implemented, this has been barely implemented as land is a state subject. Agricultural land leasing is inadequately placed and addressed in public policy discourse. Tenancy issues and lack of agricultural efficiency in Eastern Indian region requires some special attentions. The objectives of this research is to understand the nature and functions of land leasing arrangements and contracts in the selected states of Odisha, West Bengal, and Jharkhand, to identify problems and prospects of land leasing arrangements for agricultural development in the Eastern Indian regions. These are few research questions or hypotheses. There are a few more, but then due to paucity of time, I restricted it to 3. Is there any significant difference in land leasing, as well leasing in, leased in, and leased out, and agricultural productivity between plains and plateaus? This is one of the major key research questions. Second research questions: are the land leasing leased in or leased out, and agricultural productivity significantly different between districts with higher tribal population and districts with the lower tribal populations? And how does conditions of land leasing influence agricultural production? So we need specific answers to some of these specific questions, because you keep on saying this affects, but how much? Is it really, feasible? Is it really affecting? How much it is affecting, especially in the ground context? So I don't want to speak much on the methodology or show the maps. So what I have done, this is the area you can see that especially in the Eastern Indian regions, I have all the red fonts. You can see that the districts I have selected for the study here: Pakur, Giridih, and Dhanbad. In the Dhanbad part, I think it's not showing here. And in this Jharkhand, Nadia and Purulia in West Bengal, and from Odisha we selected Mayurbhanj, Keonjhar, and Baleshwar districts. So especially this covers the northern plateau regions and a part of coastal plain regions. And you can see that the type of operational land holdings, agricultural operational land holdings, here I have marked especially in red, this one's highlighted because, people, especially in West Bengal, they don't want to reveal their data, all of you know why, because of some legal complications also. And yes, when I talk about this Odisha and West Bengal, Jharkhand especially, you see that people, those who fully leased in, this very percentage is very, very few. Only 2.2% people leased in, and people fully owned 70%, around 69%, and 18.6 percentage people both owned and leased in. So ownership is also an important factors which determines the nature of leasing in also. And fully otherwise possessed, basically, here I have mentioned that which is not legally owned without RORs and some kind of things like that. And non-response percentage is higher because people don't want to, especially those who are in tenants, informal tenancy, they don't want to reveal the data, especially in West Bengal because of legal complications. You can see the distribution of land holdings in West Bengal. You see it's very skewed compared to Odisha and Jharkhand here. The distribution is skewed in the sense some people, this distribution is, there are two outliers you can see here, where people's operational land holdings, especially in leased in and leased out cases also, this is higher compared to the states like in Odisha and Jharkhand. Where you can, some homogeneity is at least you can mark from this state of Odisha and Jharkhand. So the homogeneity case is a bit higher in the case of Odisha. And here you can see that here, especially in the right side figure, you can see that leased in and leased out percentage. I've given this one, there's actually this mistake, hurriedly I did it. It's a percentage of households that in Odisha and Jharkhand, those who are leasing in and those who are leasing out this. And here you can see that the leased in, leased out, and leased of irrigated land, leasing in of irrigated land, and leasing in of non-irrigated land percentage. You may be expecting that all of you don't have to do research on it because agricultural land where it is irrigated, the case of leased in is higher compared to the non-irrigated lands. So it's not about only policies, it's about also improving the irrigation, where the land leasing market can be efficient. So focusing adequately on the irrigation part is also essential to boost the process of leasing in and leasing out also. And these types of leased holders, especially this is about the leased in terms. It matters the most, especially in the rural agricultural context. People leasing in terms, there are several types of leasing in terms and conditions. For share of produce, for fixed money, for fixed produce, for share of produce together with other terms, and from relatives with no specific terms. You can see that for share of produce is higher in the context of Odisha and Jharkhand. But in the context of West Bengal, people don't want to respond, and it's to some more extent, people also go for fixed in, and there is another, the produce together with other terms. Both of them share the cost for production, and also some types of, mutual investment is there. But in the case of Odisha and Jharkhand, this case is missing. So basically, the leased in seasons, it's not Kharif. I had an impression that Kharif seasons, especially, that induces leasing in and leasing out processes. But in true sense, the empirical findings suggest that it's Rabi seasons, because in Jharkhand and Odisha were plateau regions, and even in West Bengal also, potato cultivation is very significant practice, especially during Rabi season. So this induces the process of leasing in and leasing out. And this is especially on the responses that people about the tenancy insecurities. How do people perceive, especially how do tenants perceive about tenancy insecurities, and how do landowners perceive about tenancy insecurities? So risk perception, especially related to landlord or tenant, is comparatively relatively higher than other perception risks. Dispute over land, That is also, but compared to people's perception about leasing in and leasing process between them only. These two peer members, they have the highest insecurity with each other. This is a very important part. And there are also land acquisition. I live in here land acquisition. They have a perception of threat from the government also, like they may lose their lands. Immigrants, especially in Jharkhand and Odisha, West Bengal also, some immigrants, they have threats from immigrants. People from outside can come and acquire their lands. These are some of the issues. I don't want to go in detail, but these are some of the questions. I'll just straight away show the results. Is there a significant difference in land leasing between plain and plateaus, and also between plateaus? But you can see, because some of you may not be from statistics, I cannot show you the modeling here, but then you can see that there are differences. Especially the leased out rate is so less compared to your leasing in total, in both Odisha and Jharkhand especially. And you may see that coastal and Gangetic plains have relatively higher leasing out compared to the leasing out rates in plateau regions, especially in Odisha and Jharkhand. These are some of the models. You can see these distinctions here. At least you can see the statistical test that we have in fact done here. This one, you can see that how there is a difference between plateau regions or districts in plateau regions and coastal and plain regions and close to plateau districts of Jharkhand. This mean difference itself, you can see here. This is significant at 95% levels. That means there is significant differences, statistically significant differences. Explaining these models will take time, so if anyone wants to know how it was conducted, I can do it later. But see these are some of the results that you can see that. And how does land leasing conditions affect agricultural productions? For fixed money, 6.8. For fixed produce, 4. You can see that's 11.32 mean. That means quintal in production. Fixed money and for share produce. These terms are very essential compared to fixed produce. If you fix produce, if you have a fixed produce condition for land leasing, it will have negative implications on your agricultural production and productivity process. So when we are formulating certain policy, also we have to see that what should be the terms and conditions for that. Fixed money is ideal, particularly in Gangetic plains and coastal regions. But share of produce, that is an ideal practice which most of the states, especially Jharkhand and Odisha and West Bengal, they do follow this. So this is an ideal practice being followed, especially in this context. So another interpretation, you can see that the terms and conditions, I've already explained that how it is important, especially the share of produce, which is very ideal conditions. So finally, my conclusion, in Jharkhand and Odisha, tenancy is restricted. Terms and conditions, which I have not explained here, that tenancy conditions, terms and conditions are important to determine the effect of agricultural productivity. Especially, we must actually, empathize with people, those who are with, share of produce. I must see that the traditional practices of share of produce as a leasing term is a very ideal type. Share cropping, which is predominant form of tenancy condition, has been used as a subsistence practice. So now we have to, in order to make it more productive and efficient, then we have to take care of some lease, relaxing leasing in terms and conditions, but with caveat. And then, in order to improve efficiency in agricultural productions, addressing, I have already said that addressing poverty, tenancy reforms, and land leasing security are both, for both parties, are essential, because there is a high perception of insecurity even from the owners also. So these things have to be taken care of, and this is what from my end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Behra sir, for a very interesting presentation. Omkar Modak. Presentation.
Hello everyone, I am Omkar Modak. I am here today to present some of the preliminary findings of the ongoing research on land administration being done by Landstack in collaboration with Flame. I'd like to thank everyone who made this research possible. My focus today will be the Swamitwa scheme being implemented in Maharashtra and how the scheme is perceived by the people it is meant for. I'll be taking you through some of the context of the scheme, Although I am sure most of you already know about it from Mr. Alok Nagar's talk at the inaugural plenary and the session before us. So I'll just be going briefly. The scheme has six major objectives. First, it wants to enable and improve collateral-based credit for Abadi land holdings while also reducing land-related disputes through conclusive land titling. It aims to improve rural planning across multiple government schemes using newly made accurate records. It wants to empower state panchayat raj with data for better property tax assessment while helping panchayats making their development plans. And lastly, it wants to create a comprehensive survey infrastructure that can be used by different departments in the future. Today, we will be focusing predominantly on the actual survey process under the scheme and discuss how its implementation might affect its long-term goals. So, three agencies are involved in the implementation of the scheme. Ministry of Panchayat Raj is the nodal ministry for scheme implementation at the central level, while at the state level, the Department of Land Records is tasked with conducting the survey and creating the Swamitva card. So the process starts with the state Panchayat Raj through Gram Panchayats. Gram Panchayat is tasked with sensitizing the villagers about all aspects of the scheme and the participation required from them. This is done through in-person meetings, display of IEC materials like posters and notices, and texts on common WhatsApp groups. Following that, the Gram Sevaks facilitate interactions between land record officers and the villagers during the demarcation of boundaries by limestone powder before survey. A drone is flown by Survey of India, which is the technical partner under this scheme. Following this, a ground truthing of areas demarcated during the drone survey is conducted by the land record officers by checking existing land records and actual possession. A collective map reading process is also organized to enable community members to review the demarcated map and suggest changes. Following this, the document acknowledging the land title can be collected by people by paying a nominal fee. So there is the distribution of sanad that happens, and then there is a distribution of property card. So the sanad is slightly different than the property card, meaning that it is distributed. It is a one-time document, and it is not transferable compared to the property card. Is what we understood in our research. Today, so yeah. So coming to the goals of our study, so I just spoke. Coming to the goals of the study, what we wanted to understand was what is the ongoing context under which the scheme was implemented, the unique factors that make the scheme implementation possible or slightly difficult, and how the beneficiaries of the scheme are pursuing its benefits. Today, we will be speaking primarily on the third aspect, which is understanding how beneficiaries are perceiving the scheme and its benefits. So for methods, we see we covered around 4 districts. We did around 160 household surveys. We did around 40 in-depth interviews across community, state officials and panchayat officials. And we did around 18 FGDs. So when it comes to our findings, what we found is when it comes to awareness of the scheme, we saw that 83% of the respondents overall report receiving some form of official communication about the scheme. In 3 out of 4 districts, households spend 1 day or less learning about the scheme. What is interesting is Sindhudurg, the state with one of the lowest coverage under Swamitva so far, as you can see on the Swamitva dashboard, has the highest awareness about the scheme. So might be because maybe there's a separate case study about Sindhudurga that might be coming about some best practices that have been following there. Yeah. But as you can see, if I go to the previous graph, 83% of respondents overall report receiving some form of official communication about the scheme. However, when we come to participation in the boundary demarcation, that number drops to 66%. So I have given also some notes and quotes from people in our focus group discussions. So one of the reasons why this drop in participation in boundary demarcation might be that aside from the scheme, what happens, what we learned from talking with Department of Land Records officials is that in a lot of places the boundary marking is being done on the external boundaries of the Gautan, because of which a lot of people may not know that the survey is happening, and because of which they might not be have participated in the boundary demarcation. Secondly, there is also a limited understanding among what we found in our FGDs is there's a limited understanding among people about the basis on which the boundaries were demarcated post drone survey by DOLR. So that might also be an issue. So when we come to the efficiency of communication methods, we saw that 64% of the overall population we studied were informed about said they were informed about the drone survey. 36% of the households overall said that they were present during the actual drone survey. And when we cut it across occupational class, so this is like a juxtaposed graph. So the orange graph is basically the across the different occupations. What was the percentage of people who were informed about the drone survey, and the green is the number of people within those occupations who were present during that drone survey. So we can clearly see that among some people with temporary or self-employment, the participation drops significantly, like with daily wage laborers, with housewives, with self-employed people, with unemployed people, that participation drops, especially during the drone survey. When it comes to public participation in decision making, another thing we saw was that only about 38% people were actually informed about the map reading and correction process in advance, and only 8% ended up actually participating in the map reading and correction. What we saw is that maybe there is a limited support that the panchayat has to organize collective map reading and correction sessions. There might be a knowledge gap among beneficiaries about how to read and correct their maps, because of which they are not participating. And thirdly, beneficiaries, because Maharashtra already has a 8A record that exists, beneficiaries may be not comprehending the importance of the property card and instead preferring their 8A records as more accurate in some capacity. Going to the last mile execution of the scheme, so we see that the Gram Panchayat, in some way, when we ask people if you faced any issues, if you had any questions about the scheme, who would you first go to? So we see that the Gram Panchayat functions as the de facto nodal agency for villagers for any matters related to the scheme. However, Panchayat officials in our interview said that they did not feel very empowered to help people with any kind of disputes relating to boundaries or any kind of questions or issues they might have regarding the scheme. Panchayat officials also said that they lacked systems to communicate to the Department of Land Records about all the issues coming to them, because of which they were sending the people directly to the Department of Land Records rather than, which made the process slightly longer for everyone. Yeah. And finally, when it comes to findings, so in terms of effectiveness of the schemes, when we asked people about what they felt about the Somitwa card they received, so around 50% of the population that we had surveyed had already received the Somitwa card. So what we see is that in terms of perceptions, the perceptions are pretty positive. People have understood the essence of what the scheme is for. They understand that it is an asset to showcase your ownership. It provides you loan for housing improvements to get mortgage. But when it comes to the use of card, we see that around 87% of people haven't really used it for anything yet. That may be because the scheme is new and the translation into actual use for anything requires time. So in terms of just conclusions, so I have divided into three things: execution, efficiency, and effectiveness. So in terms of execution, we see that, as I said, 50% of respondents in our survey has already received a property card, showing that the scheme is able to execute on its primary promise on creating conclusive land titling for Abadi areas, which was the main goal of Samitwa. In terms of efficiency, we feel that communication of information to beneficiaries could be improved via communication strategies that account for local context and prior knowledge, maybe better IEC material, some form of better communication, videos. I know Somitwa dashboard has a bunch of videos, maybe more translatable videos could be helpful. And in terms of effectiveness, we see that while the people understand that the card gives loans, there is maybe a need to incentivize the use of property cards for financial access by bridging the information gap between lenders and property cards holders. So maybe, as sir said, Somitwa now they have issued a circular that Somitwa properties can be covered under SARFAESI Act. But maybe the people also need to know about it. Maybe maybe not all banks know about it. So there is a gap there which can be fixed. And yeah, so I just wanted to conclude with that, and I am really glad that we got to do this research as part of Flame. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Omkar. We have one more presentation to go, and we can then open it up for questions. Mr. Mengistu.
Okay, greeting all, and also good afternoon. This is Mengistu Mokonnen from Ethiopia. I'm a lecturer and a freelance consultant on spatial planning. This is, I want to just say thank you and just send my gratitude, heartfelt gratitude to the ILC hosting organizers, giving me this chance to present the experience of Ambero technical team on a project named Participatory Integrated Land Use Planning, or PLEP. So this is the technical, Ambero is a consultancy firm which is based in Germany, working in collaboration with GIZ. So I want to just present some of our experience, especially the technical team. I've been delegated by the technical team, so we have been working this planning as a collaborative team, because planning is a teamwork. So this is how I want to just outline the presentation. In terms of the overview or the objectives of the project, Participatory Integrated Land Use Planning 2 has 3 objectives and 3 outputs. The first objective is it's about based on the capacity building, which is usually institutional capacity building of the regional, national, regional, and local-based governments which are working on integrated spatial planning. And also this might be through the mechanism of training and also human capacity development. The other objective and output is the implementation, in which it is try to strengthen capacity of the public government authorities and other stakeholders, especially in doing the real plan by itself. So it is based on the implementation. And this might be endorsed through approval of integrated land use plan in 5 hotspot areas or 3 regions, which is usually at local level, which is a WREDA, that is equivalent to a district. And the other is through establishing integrated land use planning regulatory review body that can just endorse, just follow the implementation of the plan. The third objective and output is training and education. It is not only based on just producing the plan and also capacitating the institutional capacity of the others, but a continuous training and education is a must in order to endorse for successful implementation of participatory integrated land use planning. So we have tried to develop a curriculum by other institutions, and also we have tried to develop a module by on previously existing additional modules for TVET College, which is based in Asosa. So with regard to the methodology, how we have been just managing this project, it is based on 4 general stage, especially there is a preparation and organization stage in which we have inaugurated or launched the program, and also established regional technical and regional steering committees, because they are just engaged in the planning process, in giving us advice, consultation, and also decision making. These committees are very important, which are working together. And also, it is just setting the work methodology and work plan is one of the detailed activities that have been entertained in this stage. The other is data collection and analysis, in which we have been analyzed the stakeholder mapping, and also consultation with WREDA level land use committees, which are at Kavali level, which is the lowest unit of government system in Ethiopia. and identification of emerging land use issues from the local communities. The third phase is planning and decision making, in which we have been synthesize the data and also make a draft proposal for the different hotspot areas, and then present again to the local communities, the steering committee, the technical committees, in order to improve, enhance the quality, and also some of the issues that need to be incorporated within, based on their sectoral preference and the local community's interest. The other is the validation and plan endorsement. This is the last stage in which we have our drafted plan, and the approved plan should be endorsed. So we need to just have implementation strategies in which we have to show the implementers how these plans get implemented. So in terms of the one of the approach we have followed in this, other than the methodology, is that we have followed MLT level approach, in which we have tried to participate all sectoral institutions and also the different local communities that might be all segments of the society, which are very have an interest in this planning process. And also we have tried to incorporate different sectoral plans, sectoral spatial plans. There might be agricultural sectoral spatial plan, or the environment, the urban spatial plans might be existing, but these things have been exercised or done in separate manner. So we need to just integrate in holistic manner to manage this integrated participatory plan. So the other is our planning approach should promote transparency and also participation, which need to be inclusive, and also urges for negotiation process among and between different interest groups, because we are doing plan has, which might be working on land, and land has very huge land claimants. So we need to just at least consider the interest of different people in our planning process. So community engagement and awareness raising is one of the mandatory tasks we have followed as an approach, so that especially we have been facilitated by different CSOs, which are our partners in 3 different regions. So that might be engagement with cavalry representatives, the smallest unit of administration in our case. So in terms of capacity building, the output one, we have give a capacity training for 160 individuals in the GIS or in participatory integrated land use planning, monitoring and evaluation, communication, and also gender transformative approach and human right-based approach, because this planning approach has endorsed and followed the international human right-based approach, because it should be participatory and it should be inclusive, that can consider the diverse voices of the communities. So 3 one-week events have been held in different hosting regions. So especially that have been constituted of the national, regional, and also Warada level participants. Regarding the output too, we have, as I have just mentioned, we are doing this project in 3 regions. One is the Benishangul, which is in the western part is bordering with Sudan. The other is in the north side in Amara, which is Fagita, Lakuma, and Derra. The other is in Oromia, which is the very largest region, like what are here in India. So in this, we have been successful, especially in Benishangul Gums of Abraham Wareda, which is a district level final product. We have already finalized this project. In Amhara region, still we are waiting for approval. And in Oromia, the process is still at a draft stage. So what was our consideration in a planning process or in drafting our Warada level or district level land integrated participatory land use planning are some of the issues which have been indicated on the PowerPoint are Okay, the the Ministry of Agriculture has developed a database which is named NIRLAS. It is the National Rural Land Administration and Information System, and also we have been doing land registration, and we are in the second stage, which is named second level land certificates. So these are the basis for our drafting. And also there are special data from the commercial agriculture, which is named CAMIS, which is especially focusing on large-scale agricultural investment. And also these things have been tried as a pilot project at the Kabale level. So we have been using that as a base or framework for our planning purpose. There are protected areas, urban spatial plans, and also directives, proclamations, which are give us a framework for planning these things. So these are all issues which might be listed for the time being. So as outputs, this is the Warada level. This is Abraham Warada, part of the integrated land use plan. So we have just tried to manage based on the existing situation and also all the frameworks which have been previously listed in the previous slide, so that we have come up with such kind of results. So I'm not going into in detail because time limits me. And this is at a Kabale level. From the Warada level, we have been cascading this spatial plan to the smallest unit of administration, that is Kabale. This is one Kabale of Abrahamo. And also the other is Ambasarting Kabale, which is the smallest unit of administration. So this is getting details about the land which were being proposed. In terms of training and education, as I've mentioned, we have the MSc curriculum on integrated spatial planning developed by Ethiopian Institute of Architecture and Building Construction, which is a branch campus of Addis Ababa University in collaboration with University of Munich. So these things have been submitted to Addis Ababa University ABC Senate for ratification in December 2004. By this, it has been ratified. So these are some of the modules that have been incorporated or constituted the curriculum. And also in terms of training and education, there is previously existing Asosa Agricultural TVET College. So on these existing modules, these 4 modules have been added, and so the module have been developed. So this might be help us to continue the training, especially on short-term training for that is based on integrated land use planning or spatial planning. The other achievement might be participating, the essence of participating the communities for the sense of belongingness to all the plan is a must. So this shows that we have tried to participate in every Kabale, especially in different clusters. At the Kabale level, we have tried to conduct a community dialogue in which the communities can just say on our planning process, and we are facilitators, we are not planners, we are facilitating their interests, their opinions in order to because they can just manage their lands. We have been having a big ear in order to listen to the diverse voice of the communities. So as a key finding or constraint and limitation, there is a security concern, especially in 2 other hosting regions of Amhara and Oromia. So our planning planning process have been limited by these security issues. But the other concern is lack of coordination and collaboration among government institutions, which is especially in doing this holistic plan, which needs to be integrated and also participatory as well. Lack of reliable and up-to-date spatial data is including from key partners. I was just very jealous of the Indian survey team when they say that the information is available for every individuals. But in my country, this is not true. So always we do have sharing data is a very constraint in doing similar projects. So I was very interested in the motto the Indian survey are promoting. So the other is notable absence of spatial plans in key sectors, especially agriculture, environment, forestry, and mining. Urban plans, especially in the three regions, are just the cities are growing at expense of prime agricultural lands. They are all much the area, the urban limits are exceeding the previous existing one, sometimes 20 times, sometimes 10 times. So these are expanding on registered agricultural lands. So the fate of the local communities, especially the small landholders issue is threatening. So this should be adhered or just enhanced for the future. The other is the delayed access or no access to data because of the reason I have mentioned, and also diverse stakeholders may have competing interests because everybody is claimant of the land, especially as institution base. The urban administration is claiming the neighboring rural lands, and also the rural lands are trying to hold their holdings. So this has a conflict result. Limited technical skills and knowledge might be one of the issues that should be a critical constraint for our planning process. So lessons we have learned is that by engaging the communities, it is possible to do a plan. So this is because when we are planning, we are participating in the communities, we have been developing sense of ownership, and the community says that this is our plan. So that is is for implementation. The other is flexibility in a planning methodology is a must. We don't have all size fits planning approach and also planning methodologies. It should be in consideration with the local context and also the local community values as well. And there should be clear and continuous communication among stakeholders for successful implementation and also producing or development of such kind of planning. Valuing and incorporating local knowledge should be a must. The communities have their own local indigenous knowledge. Our role should be how we can just incorporate this local indigenous knowledge in our plan. That must be considered. Bringing training and resources to local stakeholders is very essential. High quality, accurate, and up-to-date data is crucial for any planning, especially for participatory integrated land use planning. And as a conclusion, this might be a homework for the government or for other stakeholders who are going to engage or doing the similar projects in future. Especially, enhancing collaboration is a must. Engaging local communities and stakeholders should be very important. Local knowledge integration, commitment to continuous improvement is a must for the success of plan implementation. So as a way forward, a high-level decision is needed to agree on and set quality standard, defines technical process, and guarantees availability of the necessary geospatial and other information needed to regional, Warada, and local level planners. Continuation of SLC. SLC means second level land certificate for rural land registration should be proceeded by the Ministry of the Agriculture until 2026, but it should be enhanced in the future. As a key partner in multi-sectoral planning, urban planning institutions at the different regions should be part of the planning process if we just wish to have a successful participatory integrated land use planning. This is all for me. Thank you. አመሰግናለሁ በአማርኛ in Amharic አመሰግናለሁ means thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mengistu. We can open it up now for questions. Sir, you had a question.
Sir, in your first presentation, is there any analysis or study regarding agriculture produce by owner and lease in, lease out lands? Is there any comparison study in India? Because in rural areas, there is a much gap because there is no any infrastructural development in lease out lands in Maharashtra, and that creates a major effects or affecting on agriculture produce. So, any study has been done in at your level? This issue is, I think so, in rural economy. This is the most important issue to be handled.
That is the one of the reasons that why I considered for this analysis.
Yes, that is the.
But there could be some papers, but I think in India I don't find much where people are focused on this, how land leasing and land ownerships. I mean, you cooperative sector, simple. There is no much study on this part, especially. But maybe some empirical papers, I'm not sure. In economic and political weekly, there could be some papers. Maybe by HR Sharma or sector.
Just I remembered this because of your presentation. I am from rural Maharashtra, and I am seeing this since from my childhood. That the farmer who is owning the land has developed his land and produced much better produces in higher quantities. But who are leasing in, leasing out, the lands are in same scenario. That is, there is no any development happening. So this issue, I think so, may be considered and taken from further study and further planning.
This issue especially has been addressed. I think this last land model land leasing act only reflects these issues. In fact, restriction is one of the problems, like why people are not free to lease out or lease in their lands. This can be addressed. Probably that can positively impact influence agricultural production. This is one of the reasons. And if you take example of West Bengal, why selected? Because West Bengal, there is some legal flexibility which is recognized under this one, Pargadari Act. So in that context, land leasing market is very efficient.
Yes.
When you have a efficient land leasing market, there people, you can see that there is some impact on agricultural production, positive impact. But even in West Bengal also, there are some informal form of tenancies because people don't want to get registered because they know that once get registered means that tenancy is a permanent and inherent structure. Inheritance is there. So there are some complications even. So now it has a lot of discussions need. I mean, it is essential that we must focus that what should be our land leasing and leasing out characteristics.
Yes.
What should be incorporated in the land leasing acts also. Since this is a state subject, so state has to take proactive measures for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the Swamitwa team, I had one question. Regarding the Swamitwa, were there any anomalies reported like area mismatch, boundary mismatch, or a names mismatch? Or probably the names were not taken and the names of the holders who were not there present on the 8A were reported. So, in your study, were these parameters checked? And if yes, what was the finding?
Yes, sir. So we had some examples of not necessarily of names mismatch, but area mismatch. So what happened is, I think through our interviews we saw कि people's compound, मतलब some people had the bigger pattern that we saw was that people had complaints about that post the survey, the common land that was given in some places that created a kind of contention because people already they thought they owned the land, but post survey the previous 8A records, the original 8A records were used, and people didn't really, and that's why I said people don't understand the basis on which this demarcation was happening. And Gram Panchayat wasn't really able to answer a lot of their questions, because of which they thought that, oh, our land was taken. Like, basically some of our land was given as common land, but it was our land. So that kind of misconceptions did happen. So we saw.
Also, just to add this thing, like in Sindhudurg, for example, so the type of land was there, it was a community land. So after Swamitwa, they were really happy that, like, rather than this thing community land, they got their individual ownership land. Like they got a sense of this thing that we got a ownership record. on our own, and the area and all these things were really well. Matlab they were not having any issues in there. And the example that is shown here is from Pune. So it depends upon the area actually.
Yeah, thank you very much. In terms of this land leasing, leasing in and lease out, have you tried to look at the gender dynamics within this general leasing arrangement? That's number one. Number two, what are the requirements for lease contract to be formal? Is there any requirement for a contract to be formal, like documentation, registration, something like that? Thank you.
Yeah, as far as your first question is concerned, gender, in fact, have not considered this issue primarily because, all of us know that leasing in is a restricted kind of thing, especially the states that I have selected, Odisha and Jharkhand. There is a lot of restrictions in leasing in and leasing out in, and restriction is there. And as far as even states of Jharkhand and Odisha are concerned, still patriarchy, as yesterday you might have attended several sessions, it's a male dominated practice. So that is how, the percentage, even if it is there, it could be very, very low. So this is not there. In fact, whatever my observation primarily in Jharkhand, Odisha and West Bengal is concerned. And regarding land leasing acts, there are a lot of, tenancy acts earlier, but it is restricted, especially in the context of Jharkhand and Odisha, and also even West Bengal also. But in West Bengal, there is a Bargadari Act where it allows the tenants, both tenants and landowners, where they have to register, and without that registration process, it is not considered to be legal also. So this is one type, this is one advantage and also one disadvantage because of certain restrictions also in that. Once you get registered as a tenant, then owner is bound to be obligated with the norms. So mostly land leasing is taking place in informal forms, mostly in informal forms.
So I would like to conclude by thanking us speakers for a stimulating set of presentations. It was a really interesting sort of survey of a variety of last mile implementation related issues, especially for DI, LRMP, and Swamitva, and a very interesting insight into land use planning in the Ethiopian context. So, thank you so much to all our presenters.